2022 was a year that I lived through, and it's almost done now. What the heck? This year went really quickly, and I probably have been saying that for the last 4 years. It doesn't stop. Time marches on. But this past year, I set a very open concept, broad resolution for myself, where I would try things and not be afraid to fail. That is so non-specific if you're using the SMART goal system. I was not specific. One of my biggest struggle points is that I'm a bit of an all or nothing thinker, which is fine in some contexts, but it's not a universal rule of thumb, or it shouldn't be. I'm just like, if I don't get it right the first time, it's not meant for me, and it belongs in the trash, belongs to somebody else, which isn't fair because there's a lot of cool things that I'm not good at the first time, and I want to do them, and I see all of these people who are really good at these things because they've done it for years. And so that was my big learning curve of 2022. I wanted to know that I could do things, I could fail, I could be rejected, and be okay with it, and be okay, and know that I could be okay. And here I am, okay. Some bumps and bruises along the way, absolutely, but we're here. Let's review. The original goal was to learn 12 different skills and hobbies, one for each month, and just kind of be like this super well-rounded jack of all trades, master of none type person by the end of the year. First failure is that I only ended up doing 5 out of 12, which, you know, that is a lot. 12 is a lot. I ended up doing 5, which is about 40%, which if I was running a test, that would be a failure. So look at us failing on purpose. So let's go through the chronological order of the 5 things that I learned, the hobbies that I've developed, and see what we've learned along the way. The first big one was ice skating. I technically started this in like the last week of December of last year. It's kind of cheated, but you know what? It's okay. More practice time, so it can't be mad at me. More practice. So I'm a born and bred Canadian, true north, strong and free. And in my 22 years of life, I never learned how to properly ice skate. I've always wanted to, but I was not successful. Until this year, I've owned skates, but the last time I was properly on skates, I was 17, and I was in public, and I failed, and I fell a lot, and I never got on skates after that until this past winter. Before I even got on skates, I did the SMART academic thing and did all of the research I could before I went on skates, made sure I got the right skates to make the adjustments needed, and like understanding surfaces and how to approach skating on different surfaces and all these things. One of the biggest things that a lot of ice skating teachers, whether that's hockey players, hockey coaches, figure skaters, speed skaters, all of the instructors that you will find on YouTube, a lot of the first videos that they'll post for beginners will say the same thing, and it's how to fall properly. That is not the first thing I expected to learn because I want to skate, I don't want to fall. But a lot of the things that all of these instructors said, like universally, was like, you're gonna fall. You might as well learn how to do it safely and properly without like hurting yourself. And that was really encouraging to hear from every single one of those people. It was like, these were well-seasoned skaters, whether they were coaches, whether they were like athletes, they would all say it. Like, I fall all the time. I was like, it's comforting knowing that people can also fail. People who are masters at what they do can still fail. I mean, you see it in the Olympics. These are some of like the greatest athletes, not just in skating, in all sports. These are the greatest athletes of their country. And they mess up a little bit. And I'm like, well, if they can mess up, so can I. And all the times that I did fall, you know, I don't remember them. And if it was in a public space, I guarantee the strangers went home after seeing me fall, after checking it. They did check in to see if I was okay, thankfully. A lot of people did. They probably forgot by the time I got home. And I can only really remember like 2 really big falls because like it could have done a lot of damage if I wasn't wearing the equipment that I was. And I did skating from like December to maybe like mid-March. Thing I learned this year, number 2, is that you can always come back to things that you've started. Sometimes you just need a break. Hopefully it's not like a 9-month break like mine was, but Sometimes you need a break, sometimes you need to step away and come back. And this was actually learned through crocheting, which is weird to say. So I did crocheting all of March and then started up again in October up until now. That's a big gap between March and October. There was a lot of things that kept me from learning how to crochet properly. And one of the big things was that at that point, I was growing out my nails. I realized much later, literally in October, that having long nails, especially as a beginner when you don't really know how to manipulate a crochet hook and yarn, can be like a big deterrent. Like, it can keep you from making progress. I got really frustrated. Like, I didn't get it right. I would count my stitches and for some reason it wouldn't work. Anyways, I was really impatient and again, just wanted to get it right the first time. So I took however many months is in between March and October of a hiatus and finally finished my first project, which is the scarf that I currently wear because it's cold up here in the true north, strong and free. It's okay if it's something that you enjoy, something that you want to try and you think it's worth your while. Coming back to it is the most important part. Quitting is not the way that we grow. It's failure and trying again and trying again and trying again. It's one of those things that you know on paper, like failure is a part of learning, but like it doesn't always click right away. Third hobby that I picked out was cooking, and this was sort of like a little happy accident. So this was like, I mean, I still cook, but when I started this hobby, it was in the month of May because I was taking this biology of nutrition class for my undergrad. One of the aspects of the class was to for participation marks, it was this MasterChef assignment where we had to take what we learned in the lectures that week and apply it to this dish. It was really fun, I can't lie. And then I learned that I was really good at cooking. I was quite good at it. So there wasn't this big revolution. I was just like, cooking's fun. I learned how to make proper scrambled eggs that are like magnificent, like how to properly cook the proteins in the eggs. They taste fantastic. Changed my life, I'm telling you. But yeah, no big revelation, just cooking's fun. I like cooking. Now, my favorite skill that I learned this year was roller skating. Kind of a cop-out because I did ice skating early in the year. But hush, my resolution, my rules, okay? I got my roller skates in May, but I did not get on them until June. And I did not get off them until October. This was the longest stretch that I had with any of my hobbies, other than cooking. I need that to live. Any chance I got on my roller skates, I was on them. And roller skating is so accessible. Unlike ice skating, you need like perfect conditions. Like you need a flat rink and just a decent amount of space. Plus it's cold, so you can't be out for super long. Whereas roller skating, you can literally do it anywhere with a flat surface and enough space, especially depending on what you're looking for. If you're doing long distance, obviously you need long distance paths, but if you're doing like tricks and stuff, which is what I did a lot of, any flat, spacious, depending on what kind of trick you're doing, is enough. Oh my goodness, obsessed with roller skating. And again, I watched a lot of YouTube videos, TikToks, Reels, practicing whenever I could. And the big thing that I learned was what works for one person doesn't always work for me. I'm a visual learner, and when you're trying to learn how to do tricks, because that's really what I focused on, I loved long distance skating, but I liked the spins and stuff more. When you're trying to learn how to do a spin or some kind of trick, when you're looking at someone like skate, you can't see their foot because it's in a boot. And so trying to understand their words and try to translate that into what I'm physically doing doesn't always translate for me. So it was a lot of trial and error. It was a lot of like, okay, doing it without my skate on and then sitting down with my skate on and then trying to manipulate my foot the way that I needed to and then standing up and doing it. Not always successful. That's why it's important to wear lots and lots of safety gear. But eventually I made some progress with those adjustments. And like I said, I did roller skating until October because it started getting a little too cold, which is very unfortunate because I miss it very dearly. I need to get my ice skates out soon. And my final hobby and skill went on from end of October into the present day. I kind of feel a little uncomfortable calling it a skill or a hobby just because I think it deserves a little more reverence than that, but take it with a grain of salt, catch my drift. The skill is learning ASL. Now I have an extensive history with ASL. Like I've wanted to learn it since I was 4 years old, and as someone that like has passions and has fixations that kind of come and go, ASL has been one of those like consistent things. Like it has not left the back of my mind. and the desire to learn it. All throughout my childhood, there was at least one show that had a deaf or hard of hearing character that I was just like fascinated with and wanted to learn ASL so badly. And then as I turned 18 and older, like I kind of learned it casually, never concretely, until the past couple of months. I signed up for an online class, looked into some online free resources, and have been refining that skill. It's been going pretty well. And of course, because I had some background, I knew simple signs like yes and no and thank you and please, like signs that wouldn't get me far, but I could answer yes no questions. So so again, there's no shame in starting something and stopping something and then getting back into it if it's something that you believe is worth your time. All in all, did I achieve my ultimate goal of overcoming this fear of failure? Kind of. Of course, there were stumbling points. I don't need to be the person to tell you. Just because I didn't get it on camera doesn't mean it didn't happen. There were times that I doubted, times that I thought I had plateaued and this was as good as it was going to get. Times I deeply embarrassed myself in public, which I could tell a story or two. But the biggest thing is that I tried, and that was the goal. I wanted to try things and not be afraid to fail. And when I did mess up, when I did get embarrassed, I didn't stop there. With the exception of crocheting, I picked it back up. I got back on my feet. I did it again until I got it. And if I didn't get it, tried another day. It's almost as if committing to practice makes things work. Practice makes progress. I don't know. But what's a goal without a little bit of a sidetrack, right? So what do we make of 2023? Do we have a resolution for 2023? Yes, we do. I do want to continue with the skills and the hobbies that I've developed this year. Don't kind of just want to leave it encased in 2022. I picked them up for a reason. But my primary goal for 2023 is fairly simple. I just want to read 12 books. So a book per month. If you do the math, it divvies up pretty easily. 10 pages a day. If you're in a 30-day month, that's 300 pages, which is the average book, give or take. It does not take into account days that I put a little extra time, but also doesn't take into account the days that I don't, and I don't read a single page. But I also have a bunch of books that are just collecting dust. They just look really pretty on my bookshelf and have never been opened. And so I'd like to change that this year. Completionist, I'm a perfectionist. If it's all or nothing mentality, if I don't complete an entire chapter in one sitting, what's the point? Shouldn't even open the book in the first place. But the biggest thing I want to unlearn and continue to unlearn is that this all or nothing mentality isn't always helpful. That I can do little bits at a time and have it be okay. So here is to 2022. With all of its failures and complications, successes and learning moments, I hope I bring into this new year. And here is to 2023. With all of its new opportunities, all of its scary unknowns, but also all of the new learning moments to come with it.